Hello everyone and welcome to Overexposed, the BWRM podcast where we delve into the ins and outs of running a real estate photography and videography business. My name's Dave Temple and you can now watch the podcast on YouTube at BWRM_official or listen on your favourite podcast platform. Now, today we have a very experienced operator with us. I'm saying experienced rather than old. He's probably one of the most experienced real estate photographers in the country and who knows, maybe the world. Today we speak to Matt Lord. Welcome to the podcast, Matt.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks for having me.
No worries. Just before we get into it, whereabouts are you based, Matt?
Yeah, I'm in Geelong, but my area that I photograph is the surf coast. So from anywhere from sort of Torquay all the way through to along the Great Ocean Road and down towards Lorne and a little bit beyond there to Wye River is about the sort of distance I cover. So it's quite a scenic spot. Yeah, probably world class as far as beach scenery and that sort of thing goes, and pretty well renowned to the Great Ocean Road. So yeah.
Yeah. So just for people who've never been there before, set the scene for us, Great Ocean Road and Torquay and things. A lot of surfing down that way.
Yeah, it's a big surf culture and amazing surf beaches and cold water this time of year and full sort of steamer wetsuits required and all that sort of thing. But Bells Beach is the one that most people would know as the World Surf Pro, one of the original surfing pro tournaments around the world. So yeah, so anywhere from sort of Torquay, that's just out of Torquay, a little bit past Jan Juc, and then yeah, sort of beyond there we get into the really really scenic sort of road and the twisty windy along the. I don't know if it's sort of similar to something out of California or something, that those really amazing mountain ranges popping out of the ocean, and yeah, it's pretty nice place to work along there, and some of the homes are amazing. So yeah, it's certainly unique.
And what sort of homes? What's the sort of variety of homes around that area?
Yeah, anything from it's still some beach shacks around, but getting into those sort of big sort of double, triple story things with lots of glass and balconies and things overlooking the ocean, and then around Torquay we've sort of got your more residential zone sort of stuff, the more modern housing estate type stuff. So a lot of variety.
And a lot of houses sort of built into the cliffs and things, I would imagine.
Yeah, we've got the sort of there's things that pop out of off the cliffs. There's a pole house, which a lot of people would know. If you Google that, you'd see it on Google pretty quickly. And I've photographed those sorts of things. And it's just pretty spectacular when you get it the right day. And even on sort of yucky wild days, it can look pretty amazing too. So yeah.
Yeah, nice. So have you always worked in that area, or?
Yeah, that's where I started. So I started how long ago? 2006. And so that's
Okay, so just about 18 years. Yep.
When I was a teenager, and now I'm 85. So it feels that way at times.
You don't look a day over 80.
Thanks. Yeah. So yes, I've always worked. I grew up in Ocean Grove, which is a neighbouring sort of suburb along the coast there, and neighbouring coastal town, I suppose. And so I knew Torquay from a young age, and yeah, that's kind of where I landed, and it's been amazing for me.
And how did you actually get into real estate photography? Because, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but 18 years ago, it wasn't really an industry, was it?
No, it was. We were basically at the startup feel. There was. I worked as a school photographer before this, and then decided that houses didn't move so much and didn't give much housery back and that sort of thing. So it was through a friend. An opportunity came up to get into a franchise, and that's what I did. And haven't really looked back since. And we've sort of grown from there, delivering things on CDs, then maybe a little bit of delivering on USB sticks and things like that to what we have now, which is all online. So it's been a lot of change over that time, I suppose.
And so when you were doing the school, presumably that was a full-time thing, was it? The school shots, or was it?
Yep. It was kind of seasonal though, because obviously there were school holidays in summer. There was a lot of downtime in summer, so I'd work a bar job as well at the time. So a lot of hospitality background, I suppose. So which I think was good getting into this.
When you were doing that, was it that you wanted to get out of doing the kid stuff specifically, and you were looking for something else, or was real estate something you saw and you thought it was appealing? Or
no, I guess I wasn't really interested in real estate at all. At that age, I wasn't thinking about buying a house or anything like that. So No, it was more
Yeah,
probably the opportunities really weren't there to grow too much further with the. I guess I was um, a junior at that time in the school photography thing, and I couldn't sort of see myself going much further with it. So yeah, this opportunity came up to get into the franchise, as I say, and yeah, that was kind of the start of what I have continued to do ever since.
I imagine it's quite repetitive with the school stuff anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'd set up a studio in a school each day and just go on the same, and yeah, I mean, it was kind of different schools each day, but the same kind of environment. So yeah,
Yeah,
it was fun, and it was a good learning curve, and learning to be a photographer and learning a lot of stuff from skills and things from other seasoned photographers. So there was that side of it, and then class photos and portraits and things like that. But I haven't really taken a lot of that with me, so kind of left it behind and yeah, focused on housing. And I always liked landscapes, so that's kind of how I got into photography. And I sort of see houses as a little bit like that landscape sort of stuff. So whether it be the facade or the backyard or where I work as well. So
yeah. I was going to say, particularly where you are, I imagine landscape would be quite the thing because it's a beautiful area. So
yeah, yeah,
definitely something to get out and do. So when you first got into real estate photography, presumably, like I said, it was a very young industry back then.
yeah.
Was it something you picked up really naturally, or did you have a lot of help? Or
There was a bit of training, but I mean, probably the training side of things was more about the settings and things to have, rather than the composition and things like that. I think I maybe just got the composition stuff naturally. Yeah, I'm not sure.
yeah,
It was probably from doing landscapes and things like that, and then it sort of rules of thirds and all the sort of stuff that photographers would talk about. That was sort of already ingrained a bit in me, I suppose. So, and then getting to new cameras and wide angles and things, and yeah,
do you remember your first shoot?
uh, yeah, I reckon I do. Actually it was like a nice house sort of near Bells Beach. Yeah, so it was like I don't know, maybe an 80s brick or something, but it was pretty cool and a little bit
Yeah,
darker, so a little bit challenging. And but yeah, it had nice. It was like an on acreage sort of thing, so it had a bit of space and a bit of that landscape thing to work with. So yeah, yeah, certainly can still remember it. Yeah, and some of the mistakes over the years and things, and just the way we've changed as we've gone on as with production and stuff like that. So
well, we basically the two of us and some of the other guys who are working with us have the experience has made us better, and we've all somehow ended up doing very similar things because they're the right things to do, even though initially there was no training back in the day. So
yeah, yeah,
um, yeah, it's interesting. I was going to say, I remember on one of my first shoots, someone asked me, I think it was, "Do you want the cushion here or do you want it there?" And I thought, "What are you asking me for? I'm in IT. Like, I have no idea." And then you suddenly realise they expect you to have an answer.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, spot on. Yeah, and that was
yeah,
that. Yeah, it was very different back then too, because there was just there wasn't really real estate photography out there. There might have been, maybe in the bigger city sort of stuff around the bigger, fancier suburbs. Maybe they were already getting people in to do this sort of stuff, but we were very much, yeah, at the start of the industry, I guess, as it stands now. And it was definitely, we were fighting. It was a pretty easy battle to win because the photos that the real estate agents might have been taking at the time were just off little point and shoot cameras, and not with a lot of a lot of I suppose the rules of photography, the thirds and the nice composition and that sort of thing. So yeah, we've come in sort of at an easier base, I guess, than a lot of people might today.
yeah. So how did you convince agents that they needed a photographer back in the day? Because obviously these days it's about providing better service and differentiating yourself that way. But back then, if they weren't using a photographer at all, and everybody was using their own camera, then it would have been, was it a hard sell or an easier sell? Or
Well, it was kind of a hard, yeah, probably hard and easy in a way. Once you got in the door and showed them what it could look like, as opposed to what they were doing, it was probably, once they saw the product with a wide angle lens and those sorts of things that they didn't have on their point and shoot cameras, and some elevated photography, even before drones, we had elevated photography. So that made it, probably a little easier to get in the door at some places, I suppose. And then once it was sort of once they saw what the opposition were doing, they sort of thought, oh well, we need to be upping our game as well. So
Yeah, I guess that's the easy bit. There's an easy differentiation when they see the product versus what they're originally doing, and when
Yeah,
other people start looking at, the well shot houses as the better houses, then
yeah,
it makes it an easier sell. But getting in the first place is a tricky bit.
yeah. And when I started, I mean, smartphones weren't really smartphones either. Well, there might have been Blackberries around, but there certainly weren't Apple iPhones. That was sort of that happened in probably my first 2 or 3 years, and then
Yep.
everyone had a camera at that point. But before then, not everyone had a digital camera, so even that side of things was completely different.
It's amazing how much it's changed in the last 18 years. So, and presumably video was pretty much, as a product, was pretty much non-existent back then.
Completely, yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, again, I think whether the websites could handle it or they were even allowing it on there or not, or yeah, completely different.
What about floor plans?
Yeah, again, that was pretty yeah, old school, and there was certainly not a lot of. I probably took maybe 5 6 years to start doing floor plans regularly. So again, that was not
Yep.
something I had to learn, but yeah, they weren't. They would probably just scan the builder's plans if they had them, or not doing them all. So.
Yeah. And what about other digital things like, virtual furniture and that kind of stuff? Was that around or not so much?
No, no. I mean, that's even just sort of recently that's come. It's so amazing what we're doing now with the virtual furniture within BWRM, and I look at it and just amazed by it. So, no, it certainly wasn't a thing back then.
It's pretty amazing how far it's come. Like I said, for a young industry, the amount that's changed in the last 20 years is pretty incredible. So
Yeah.
without drones, what was your original aerial option? Was it helicopters or poles or a bit of
Well,
both?
yeah, it was that was what their options were. So they were helicopters or planes, which is quite expensive and hard to do on the just sort of booking it in a day before or whatever it was. And we had a pole which had a camera on the pole, and the pole was pneumatically operated, and was mounted to the car. So you're kind of stuck with wherever you could position it and dodging power lines and things like that. And yeah,
Yeah,
one maybe 5 6 years later or something like that. And even then, drones were pretty average with their camera quality and things like that. And they've that's been probably the biggest improvement over the time.
yeah. Well, because the pole was a permanent fixture to the car as well, wasn't it? It wasn't like you could
Yeah,
take it off at the weekend and drive around normally.
and you couldn't sort of position like now we can get a shot from any corner of the block or any position on a block or whatever it is. Whereas that was sort of stuck, and it was like, okay, if we can pull up to this part of the road, we can put it up there, and you were limited how wide you could go and whether you could show the whole block or things like that. So it was very very different, but I mean, it still gave people the aerial view that they were looking for, and I guess it kind of paved the way for how drone came in afterwards.
Yeah, and it was a pretty tough skill as well to judge what a photo is going to look like from the ground
Yeah, yeah,
before you put the pole up, because you never wanted to be putting the thing up. Like, it was probably a 5-10 minute job to get the pole up
exactly.
and working. So you didn't want to put it up and then realize,
This is a bad shot. Oh, yeah, so yeah, it worked really well for heights. I think for potential view heights and things like that. Actually, while we're talking about a pole, before we had a pole, we actually just used to rent cherry pickers and take them out on a that like a tow cherry picker and hook it on the vehicle and park it on a block and do things that way. So
wow,
just go up in a scissor lift, which
like
was kind of fun.
scissor lift type thing. Oh yeah, I'm out. I'm not doing
I
that.
quite enjoyed doing that. Actually, it was quite a bit of fun. But yes, we had to rent it from a hire joint, and yeah,
Amazing. So, I mean, presumably that, well, I suppose that still would have been cheaper than a helicopter back in the day
yeah,
anyway, wouldn't it? That still
definitely.
would have
Yeah, and
been,
if you could get on there and actually see if it was just for a view shot for a potential view shot from a second floor or whatever it was, you could be up there with your actual camera and your 200 mm lens or whatever it was, and point where you wanted to point, kind of thing. So
hanging on, hanging on for dear life.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, with a second operator generally, so you could go up and down, and yeah.
Did you ever do any helicopter shoots or?
I've never done one, no,
No, me either.
other than on a tourist holiday across Niagara Falls. But apart from that, never been in a helicopter.
If you're going to do it, that's the way to do it. Not
Yeah,
taking a photo of someone's house, I don't think.
yeah, exactly.
Someone once described, there was a guy in Mornington who used to do it all the time. That was his job. And he once described to me what you have to do it. And even his description of it made me get vertigo. So I was like, nah, not for me, thank you.
Yeah, spot
So I
on.
remember to take the lens hood off, because otherwise it'll, when you open the window, it'll whip the camera straight out your hand. I was like, nah, thank you,
No,
I'm
what?
out.
Totally.
No, drones have definitely changed the business. So
Yep.
how quickly did the business grow in the early days? Was it a slow thing, or did it take off pretty quick?
Kind of, I think, kind of quickly. Yeah, I was thinking about it before coming on, and just sort of when it did, once I got a base core of agencies on board, I've kind of been really lucky in that sense that I still have the exact same people, even if they've moved an agency across from one to the other or whatever. I've sort of worked alongside the same sort of people for a good 15 years, I reckon. So that helps relationship building and all that sort of retention of clients and things like that. And
Hmm.
I work with a really good core of great people along the coast. Yeah, I don't know if it's a more casual vibe than cities maybe or whatever it is, but it's really nice. I enjoy that sort of the people that I work with, and that's probably why I'm still here. 18 years on. Yeah.
Yeah. So how quickly do you reckon, like from starting, presumably you jumped straight in from the schoolwork, straight
Yeah.
out of the schoolwork and into real estate in the franchise. Like how long would you say it took you to feel comfortable that you had a business under that?
I reckon, yeah, probably 2 years. Um,
Mm.
which still seems kind of quick, I guess, in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, I think once we sort of were seeing, seeing a couple of good springs as well. I was also in the time where Torquay, as a place that is now, it's like it was expanding at that time, so it was just starting to really take off and grow. The estates were getting bigger and bigger, and they've only continued, and they're sort of maybe slowing up a little bit now. But pre-COVID, they were kind of just getting bigger and bigger, the estates. So there was growth and there was people moving there permanently rather than it being a holiday village and things like that. So I kind of got, yeah, timing was everything, I suppose.
Yeah. Is it still seasonal, or is it sort of settled a bit
It's
more?
definitely seasonal down the coast from sort of Anglesey, which is the next sort of stop along from Torquay. But Torquay is definitely a non-seasonal place now. So all winter long, we're
Yeah.
still shooting plenty of stuff through winter, and yeah, it's definitely a lawn thing or whatever down the Great Ocean Road that is more seasonal.
Yeah. So are you still running solo these days, or have you got people working with you?
Yeah, so I mean, the growth of the business. The first port of call was getting a PA, a virtual PA, which has been amazing. The transformation in my business since I even did that. That was a sort of simple step, I guess, but just I used to pull over onto the side of the road and write in a diary and take a phone call and then call people back and or get back to the office and then still be uploading, but then returning emails and trying to book people in after hours and things like that. But now with a virtual PA, everything sort of gets booked in as the day goes on and things are handled. Whether it's requests and things get handled, while I'm out shooting or whatever. But yeah, since then I've since had subcontractors and now I've got a full time employee, which has been amazing.
Yeah, which means that you're not running around like a madman anymore, presumably,
Totally.
because
Yeah. I get to see my family a bit more. I mean, working from home before, working from home was a norm for people pre-COVID. It was good in the sense that I could see the kids growing up and things like that, having an office at home. But yeah, it's definitely changed. Yeah, since having him, my first full-time employee, yeah, just being able to spend more time doing the things I'd like to do and also more time on the business or whatever it is. It's just freshened up my mindset and things like that. And yeah, not going crazy every day, shooting
yeah,
100 plus shoots a month or whatever it was on my own, and kind of yeah.
yeah. I mean, that's pretty amazing, really. I think we'll get onto the numbers in a second, but like, how many jobs does the business do in a day on average? Would you say on a
Um,
busy day?
Busy day, we can do sort of 10 a day
Mhm.
on a busy day. I mean that would be a properly busy day, and especially these days when everything has floor plans and everything sort of has a lot of it has drone, and quite a bit has video now. That will feel a lot busier if you're doing 10. And we probably
Yeah,
wouldn't do 10 as much anymore because of those extras that we do. But certainly
yeah,
back in the day, that was what was happening.
yeah. Because I heard rumours that you were at one point running around doing. Someone told me 15 jobs, but that might have been a slight over
I
exaggeration.
think it could have been 15 jobs, but there might have been four blocks of land and
Yeah,
three really small holiday rentals or something like that. But yeah, it was certainly I would certainly go to Lawn and those sort of places, the holiday villages back in the day, and do holiday rental shoots. And I would get a bunch of keys, and it would be like an envelope full of keys with numbers, and I'd just spend the day. And there might have been 12 shots in there, 12 shoots in there. So Yeah,
Wow. Yeah, I
but
mean that is for people listening that have never done the job before, that is really moving quickly
yeah,
because
yeah.
12 jobs in a day is brutal. I mean that's without the traveling as well, because presumably there's quite a lot of traveling down that way.
Yeah, this is all an hour away, travel wise, and then even these times are when I was producing my own work. So I'd be, this was before we'd send things offshore or whatever to get produced. So yes, the quality has certainly stepped up a fair notch since I'm not doing that anymore. But that's
Yeah.
been probably since 2006. I haven't been, sorry, 2016. Um, when I joined BWRM is when I started, sending off my shoots to be produced elsewhere.
Yeah, so realistically, again, just for people listening to have an expectation, if you are doing 12 jobs in a day, even if you said each one was half an hour and
Yep.
you've got 15 minutes travel, you're looking at what, 8, 9 hours of actual work on site. And then to come home and edit everything, you're looking at probably another 45 minutes to an hour per job again. There's just not enough hours in the day, is there?
Yeah. I'd be up till midnight regularly. It was, yeah, it was, yeah, and I probably, yeah, I'm sure there was shortcuts being taken, and results weren't as good as they could be, or at that time maybe it was more acceptable because we weren't competing with a lot of high end production value, but yeah, I'm glad where we are now. That's for sure.
Yeah. And then, of course, you got to add in the fact that you've got to print off the CD cover and then
Oh yeah, back
dump
in those
everything on
days,
a
yeah.
CD and then deliver it the next day. Yeah, it's mad.
Sending, yeah, and delivering it to the agency. That probably helped a lot of the early days getting in the door, was be able to show up again and show your face again, and drop off a CD, and it felt like there was something tactile about it. And, um,
Yeah, true. That's a good point, actually, because
ke-
when people begin these days, very often one of the issues is, how do I've been into an agency and they've said no, how do I go back in there again? But if you're going back in because you've got a CD
you
for them,
legitimately got an
you're right.
excuse to go in there. So yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. What are the unique challenges that you have in the area, do you think? I mean, we've talked about seasonality and things like that, but and you do have some extreme seasonality, but are there any other unique challenges down that way?
Seasonality you speak of, it in that same regard was weather for a long, long time.
Hmm.
So particularly down the coast, when anywhere, even in Torquay, that's got ocean views and things, you wanted it blue ocean. We get away with it a bit more now with production house, the way they can do things with the ocean and the weather, because there's just not enough time for certain listings that they need to go online, so they just kind of have to cop the bad weather or whatever it is. But back in the day, we used to hold things for a week at least, and things like that to get the right day. We still do that for certain properties now to get the right tide and the right surf and whatever else it is, wind conditions and things like that. So they're kind of unique challenges, I guess, outside of maybe shooting in the suburbs or somewhere different. I mean, still, I think every house looks good in the sunshine. So
Yeah, exactly. I imagine that was even worse back when we were using poles because,
yeah,
if you're used to doing 10 jobs a day and then suddenly you can't do them, for three,
yeah,
4, 5 days in the Victorian winter.
things would just mount up, and yeah, absolutely, yeah, that was very hectic back in the day. As far as just jobs would just pile up, and you'd be like, right, how am I even going to fit all this in? And there was, I know that if any real estate agents are watching this, there certainly wasn't a lot of weekend work from me, but I would go when I had to, if it was just piling on so badly, and the weather was only going to be good on that Saturday or Sunday or whatever. I'd have to get out there and at least do that sort of thing, like a pole shoot or whatever it was, drone shoots later on in life. But yeah, so that was one unique challenge, I guess. The other things, like I was thinking about, the way houses are presented now is so much better than what it was when I first started, and the amount of styling, whether it be the house is styled with its own furniture, or they actually get furniture packages in and things like that. It's just made the shooting a lot easier. You can see the angles so much quicker than maybe before, when you had to move things around, or try and avoid certain things in a house. People just present their homes so much better now, and I think that's just probably down to the real estate agents and the way they communicate with their vendors, or vendors' expectations when they've been sort of looking at things online and that sort of thing. So
Yeah, well, I guess people spend a lot of time looking at, you've got these styling programs that are on TV, and you've got, the sort of I'm selling my house type programs where, people
yeah,
are refitting or renovating. So, um,
yeah,
and again, you can't go to a shop at the weekend without seeing something that apparently you need for your house. So,
that's right. So yeah, yeah. That was probably a unique challenge early on, but it's certainly made the completely opposite now. It's so much easier now.
Yeah. What about the Great Ocean Road? Because presumably in summer you have to plan things very carefully for where you're going with the amount of traffic on it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I don't work during sort of between Christmas New Year. We go down tools kind of thing. So that would be really challenging. I have done it sort of pre New Year's before early on, and there was traffic jams all the way down the Great Ocean Road and that sort of thing, just from the volume of people that go down there. So I kind of avoid it in a lot of ways. And then during COVID, there was no buses and international traffic and things like that, so that changed things a little bit. But yeah, we're kind of back to the norm now, I guess. And yeah, you just I guess you plan for it to take back roads and things like that, and yeah, try and avoid being too sort of slow along there.
Yeah.
Um, it's tricky as well. You got to sort of remember to smell the roses a little bit down there because it's a pretty amazing drive. But then you've got 8 shoots that might be ahead of you or whatever, so you're kind of trying to get there when you get your work done and get back to the office. But yeah, every now and then just have a look.
It's funny. I completely agree with that. You do have to realize what a job we have sometimes. You
Mm.
someone asked me to go and take photos. Sounds really first world problems, but someone said, "Oh, can you go and take some photos on the beach?" And I was thinking, "Oh, God, I want to go home and have lunch." And I was thinking, "Hang on a minute, I'm going to take photos on the beach." Why wouldn't you
Yeah,
do that?
yeah,
25
yeah,
degrees,
totally.
sun.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So yes, I do have to remind myself. Yeah, on those busy days, particularly, that you're driving along a beautiful ocean coastline, and just there's lots of people that would love to do what we do. So yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So, one of the things that sort of I am really interested in is, like you said, you've been working with people upwards of 10, 15 years. How do you keep it? Obviously, you know the people for a long time, but how do you keep it fresh and maintain customers over that long? Do you think?
It's probably a bit of them and me. The products probably changed a little bit over the time as well, and the way we've sort of, I think we know our ins and outs. We know that how kids are growing up and things like that. Just sort of the simple stuff that a bit of background on clients, and having known them for so long, I guess it feels like they almost feel like friendships in a lot of ways as well. So yeah, I don't know how I keep it fresh. I guess just yeah, not sure.
How do you keep the customer, really, I guess is a question. I was going to say, it must be a temptation at some point. You would think there would be a temptation for them to sort of want to try something new, or maybe we'll try something here or there or the other.
Yeah, yeah, and I think, like I was touching on earlier, was that yeah, there's sort of been the same the core group of people. I guess there's just loyalty there, which I should value, really highly, and that I am lucky in that regard that they haven't sort of shopped me around against. Maybe they have, but you know, um,
They
shopped me
always
around.
come back. That's good.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I haven't been shopped around. I get probably delivery as well. I've been I always front up on time and things like that. Yeah, it's a consistency would be a big part of that. I think just maintaining relationships is just being consistent, not not having a bad day, or not showing you having a bad day if you are. Just those
Yep.
sort of small things that make a big difference over time, I guess.
Who would you say, or how long have you had your longest customer, do you reckon?
There's probably two or three that I've had the entire time. So yeah,
So
yeah,
18 years nearly.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think I was the first, but actually the Gradiston Road might have been trialing someone that people used to come from Melbourne or whatever it was, so that was an extra hour on there, and they might have charged extra travel and things like that. But they were doing it for the absolute highest end of property or whatever it was, and not for everything. So I think I again got in at a really good time, and yeah, have had them ever since. Gradiston Property is the same, and Link's Property in Torquay I've had for a long, long time as well. And then there were some others that came along afterwards.
Awesome. And what do you reckon is the biggest change or improvement from the day you started, the way it works under BWRM now?
It's the systems that we get to operate with. It's anything from like the most basic, or the probably the most valuable as well, as the production, and how good it is to be able to send something off and it comes back the next day and it's done, it's color corrected, and it looks amazing. To the point, to also the financial sort of stuff where we get to build within this system, and And that was always the hardest thing, was billing and sending out invoices and creating them in like an invoice creator sort of program or whatever it was. I didn't use Xero, or we didn't have Xero. And I wasn't using QuickBooks or anything like that. So it was I was very manual back in the day, and now we're, everything's systemized, and it's pretty incredible. Video production's amazing. So yeah, BWRM's it is that one-stop shop sort of thing that kind of fills all of the different bits that would be potentially harder. It makes them so much easier. So
Yeah, I think for anybody who has spent their time editing their own images, and particularly editing their own video,
yeah,
just that the knowledge that you can just upload it and it's going to be handled and you don't have to worry about it. It just, like I think I said the other day, I haven't opened Premiere Pro for about 5 years. Why would you?
me either. It's just the
Yeah,
same. But
yeah,
I thought about that during the recent Microsoft glitch that went a bit global, and sort of
yeah.
thought, I don't know how I would do a video now if I didn't have
No,
the systems working. So I don't know how I'd edit one. So that's a bit of I guess, a lost skill now. But focus on other things.
well, and also, the fact that you've got an offsider working with you, you get to the stage where you are actually running a business. Like you can go on holiday, the business still continues, the phone calls still get answered, the jobs
Yeah,
still get done, everything still gets delivered the same way. So that's gold,
yeah.
really, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I just came back from 2 weeks with the kids' school holidays, winter school holidays up north coast of New South, and I think I had one or two text messages within that time, just about a certain question that was, not a super important one or whatever, but yeah, certainly wasn't checking daily to see if things were delivered or whatever it was. So it was sort of the first time I've been able to have that. So even though I've had lots of holidays and things like that, that was the first one where I didn't really get contacted while I was away, which was really nice.
Good stuff. Excellent. All right. Well, look, I think it's a testament to your skill that you started pretty much on day zero in this industry.
Thanks. It does feel that way.
You're still at the top of your game this many years later.
Yeah.
Particularly with the changes in tech in the products themselves in a seasonal and obviously challenging area.
Yeah.
So good job, and thank you very much for telling your story. That's it for this episode. We hope you enjoyed listening, and we'd love you to subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. And if you'd like to see more BWRM content, please check the description for our other social links. And if you're interested in becoming a BWRM member, please visit bwrm.com/creative, and you can arrange to chat to one of the directors. See you next time.